Yep. Slightly off sync. Let me just see if we can sync it up a little bit better. So the main obstacle in Bowser Castle are the thwomps. The thwomps are, however, on cycles, so if players don't make mistakes, then they should know exactly where they're going to be on each and every lap. They become a massive make mistakes, and you're running around at a timing that you're not entirely sure of, and yeah, once things start to go wrong on Bowser Castle, they tend to go very wrong on Bowser Castle. So coming around to the end of the first lap, looks like Beck's got a slight lead, 44.82 to 45.07, so back up by about a quarter of a second at lap 1. I mean, this is a very good track for Beck. It's one where he either holds the world record or it's tied, or maybe Matthias just beat it a couple of weeks ago. I'm not entirely sure how that all played out, but it is one of Beck's strongest tracks. I'd expect to see Beck picking this, picking Calamari Desert, possibly picking Rainbow Road. So it looks like Beck's pulled out a bit more of a lead. Wouldn't be surprised if it's another 0.4. 44.50, yeah, another half a second pulled out by Beck. So he's about 3/4 of a second ahead now, going into the final lap. So all the tracks in Mario Kart 64 are 3 laps. They range in length from, under a minute and a half to nearly 6 minutes in total. 6 minutes being Rainbow Road, where these players will go through in like 5 minutes 53 or something like that. So it can be a bit of a snooze fest, Rainbow Road, so I'm hoping not to see it. But it would be a big advantage pick for Beck to pick that track, so it is perhaps one we may be seeing. But no mistakes already from Beck on that. Coming through with a 2:14.12. And Daniel finishing just over a second behind in 2:15. So 38. Okay, I'll just enter these in. So I have to do a little bit of entering numbers into something at the end of each race. Okay, it's a little bit fiddly on this setup. So 2:14.12. It's a very nice overlay, which Beck actually designed for us for this One Try League. I just don't have the biggest monitors, so seeing some of it is quite difficult. So in the first set, we have Beck up 1-0 again. Oh, I always forget to take off my starting shortly thing. Okay, so I'm waiting for Beck's pick. I can pump up Beck's audio if you want a bit louder. Everyone has quite different audio volumes coming through on their stream. I think Beck's is quite quiet. Okay, so Beck's chosen Royal Raceway. Just waiting for the two to ready up. Starting them off. So let me know if the audio is a bit better for Beck. If you still need it raised up a bit more, I can raise it up. I can't bring Daniel's audio in. He doesn't actually have any audio on his stream at all. So, I mean, thankfully, because I think listening to two Toads at the same time would drive me crazy. So Royal Raceway is a fairly long track. I think we're looking at something like 253. I'd probably expect these players to be driving it around in. Okay. These SS70s, or straight stretch mini turbos, coming up the ramp are quite difficult for newcomers, but both players looking like complete experts that they are. A little double MT around this section. A few more tight MTs. Hopping across. Sliding. Coming around. Looks like Beck's got a slight lead. Yeah, Beck about half a second up after lap 1. So possibly the area where it can most go wrong on this track is where they're just going up to now. This right-hander across the grass. If you take it too tight, you can hit the wall and get turned around. If you don't take it tight enough, you go very slowly over that section. Shroom's also another danger spot. If they go too tight, they can clip the wall. But both taking it nicely there. At the moment, the main difference between these two players is that Beck's just a little bit faster, which, when you've got the number 3 ranked player in the world, it's not surprising that he is a little bit faster, even with Daniel being, you know, number 7 in the world. You know, there is a bit of a gulf after the top 3 to the next players. I mean, but when I say a gulf in Mario Kart 64 standards is a few tenths of a second here and there. But once you go past Matthias, Dan Burbank, Beck Abney, there's a little bit of a drop off. Again, only a couple of tenths here and there on tracks, but it's enough. So Beck's kept it nice and clean still. So this was Beck's pick, so it was a track he was expecting to do well on. And so far he's not really made any mistakes. Just need to see exactly what time he gets here. I was saying a 2:53, but it looks like it's probably going to be a 2:52. 2:52.92 to Daniel's 2:53.46. So Beck takes the 2-0 lead in the first set, and the next pick will be for Daniel. Or Raceway. Okay, so it's going to go to Choco Mountain. Is the audio better now, Kyle? So Choco Mountain is a track which Beck is quite famous for, though that would be for the shortcut version of it. People here may have seen a lot of the recent videos in the last couple of years about MK64 have been either around Beck's Choco Mountain 3-lap shortcut or Matthias's quest for all the world records. So fairly smooth opener from Beck. Looks like Daniel was a little bit slow, but gets a better hills at the end. So Beck's about a quarter of a second up at the start of lap 1. Daniel holding on to a shroom though, so it's pretty much worth a quarter of a second. Oh, Daniel a bit sloppy through the S-bends going uphill. I wonder where he's going to use this shroom. Is he going to keep it till lap 3? Nope, he's using it on lap 2. So they both use the same number of shrooms now. Looks like Abney might have a very small lead. Yeah, Abney's still just about a quarter of a second ahead. But this is the kind of track where a quarter of a second can disappear very quickly. Very easily to snag into one of the walls. Or coming around this hairpin in a second, it's quite easy to get caught up on a railing, just as Abney did a little bit there. That'll cost a tenth or so. Final hills, good for Daniel, bad for Beck. This is going to be extremely close. And Daniel takes it. 157.45 to Beck's 157.62. That came down to those bad hills right at the very end. And by bad hills, we mean where you kind of bounce into them rather than roll over them. Oh, select the track. So, Daniel takes his first track of the match, bringing it back to Beck 2, Daniel 1 here in the first set. And Abney's taking us over to Frappy Snowland. Yeah, that was excellent driving all round by both players, really. A few little mistakes here and there. Daniel was a bit messy through the S's on lap 2. I think Beck had a few bonks on lap 3. So Frappy Snowland. So first and foremost, avoid all the snowmen. After you've avoided the snowmen, then the big danger on this track is the shroom spot. So there's two dangers with the shroom. The first one is that you shroom too far to the left, and there's an out of bounds area where you'll just stop dead and lose a lot of time while K2 puts you back on track. The other is the landing after the shroom, where you have to navigate through some snowmen. Beck navigated it, Daniel didn't, so that's a few seconds lost. I'm not sure exactly how much hitting a snowman loses, probably about 3 seconds. So 40.70 to 43.86, so just over a 3 second lead to Beck after the first lap. So I'm pretty sure that Beck will be watching the restream or watching Daniel's stream. This is completely allowed under the rules, so he should know that Daniel's made a mistake, so we may well see Beck driving a little bit more safely, and there's another snowman for Daniel, so that's probably another 3 seconds. So this should be about a 6 second lead now for Beck. So 40.55, lap 2 for Beck. Daniel coming around with a 45.12. So that's hard to do with maths, and I think we just saw a pause from Daniel. So that is a DQ on this track. What you can do if you're about to hit a snowman, if you pause and then unpause, you'll basically go straight through the snowman as if it wasn't there. However, as a tactic, it's completely not allowed. So it will be a 9:59.99 for Daniel. And Beck comes home in a relatively safe 2:02.30. That's a 3-1 lead for Beck in this first set. So Beck now has 3 set points in the first set. And it's Beck's pick. Sorry, no it's not. It's Daniel's pick. Daniel's chosen Mario Raceway. So I'm quite surprised by the Mario Raceway pick from Daniel. He must have improved his Mario Raceway 1 tries, because from all the times I've seen him doing it at the various Euro meets we have over the years, he almost never makes it through the mushroom cut. So by mushroom cut, what I mean is coming up here, they're going to drive between the mushroom and the wall. Looks like it should be really easy, but there's a piranha plant guarding it, and if you hit the piranha plant, you go flying all over the place. It's very easy to lose 10 seconds just on that one section there if you get thrown to the right and you're completely off track facing a wall. But almost identical, just 0.02 separating them after lap 1. See if Howard will make it through. Oh, and that's exactly what I was talking about. It's just happened to back. Hit the piranha plant, got thrown against the wall. He's now behind the staff ghost. So this isn't really a race between Beck and Daniel. This is a race between Beck and Mario. So I don't know if Daniel's watching the restream. If he is, he'll know he can just drive around completely safe. If he goes for the mushroom cut, then he isn't. That tells me he doesn't know. But made it through lovely and clean anyway. Use his final shroom. This is looking like a very good time. And probably a mid 128. Or a high 128. 128.89. To a 137.27. That takes it to 3 tracks to 2 in Beck's favour. Still has match point. And this time he has pick. That was a lovely, clean Mario Raceway from Daniel. I think he is putting himself at a slight disadvantage if he doesn't have at least the audio for the restream on. I mean, knowing that your opponent's made a big mistake and that you can then just drive around safely to finish is... I suppose it depends. If you practice driving a track one way and you just want to drive it the same way every time, not worry about safe lines, not have to think about anything, I can understand that kind of mentality. But on that track, I'd love to know that my opponent's made a big mistake. So Abney's chosen Wario Stadium, which is the second longest track in the game, just under 4.5 minutes in length. These players probably do it in something like 4 minutes 23. Oh, I mean, actually no, Beck probably will go quicker. I mean, Beck might be looking like a 4:21, 4:22 pace. Daniel, I'd expect to be around 4:23, maybe 4:24. So we're going to have quite a bit of free time, barring any major mistakes. This is going to be 4.5 minutes of driving around Wario Stadium, so just like to use the time to quickly to give a quick shout out. You should follow the 2 runners. Links to their Twitch channels are in chat now. So you've got twitch.tv/abney317 and twitch.tv/on_Prupos. Daniel mostly just streams his 1 tries and the occasional bit of time trial. Abney is probably the more well known of the Mario Kart 64 speedrunners, streaming most evenings, a mixture of time trials and GP. So it looks like Dan's had a much cleaner start here. Looking like he's got about a 2.5 second lead coming towards the end of lap 1. So Dan finishes lap 1 with a 1:27.74 to Beck's 1:30.15. So Just under 2.5 second lead for Daniel over Beck. I think something must have happened while I was looking at my keyboard to put the Twitch command in for the runner's streams. I mean, losing 2.5 seconds, I suspect he either threw his shroom into the wall or managed to tumble somewhere else. Danger with this shroom is if you go too far right, like Beck just did, you can hit that wall, and more often than not it will cause you to tumble down. Beck actually got away with it somewhat there. He didn't tumble, he kind of just fell down straight away, bounced off the wall. But that's going to increase Daniel's lead a little bit more. This is a bit of a knock on the wall there. Bit of a knock on the wall there for Daniel, but it's not going to lose like 3 seconds or so, which is what Beck needs to happen. So it looks like Beck drove faster overall, but that one mistake has probably meant that there, yeah, he's caught up a little, but he's still about 2 seconds behind. If Daniel can keep this reasonably clean, he'll be fine. Oh, lovely what we call trans style there by Beck, where he sticks to the wall. Sticks to the road going downhill. That's named after a former player called David Tran. And it's most commonly seen at the start of Rainbow Road, which we may come to later. So a bit messy on the shroom landing there from Daniel, and that's brought Beck right back into this race. Looks like maybe only a second in it between them now. So Daniel cannot really afford to make any more mistakes now, because Beck has been closing and closing and closing. Ooh, down, banking off the wall. This is... Daniel's still got a small lead, but it is very small, probably 0.3 of a second, if that. Could come down to a missed empty or a wall hit. I think Daniel's got it. Yeah. He held it together there at the finish. 2:24.66. 2:25.32. Wow. That was around the time I expected Daniel to get, but quite a bit slower for Beck. But then he had 2 quite bad shrooms in that race, so to still get a 4:25 is very impressive, and it beats my PR. Is that 32? 4:24. Is that it? So 3-3, we go to the 7th and final track of this set. I say final, there is an outside chance that they could actually get identical times, in which case it would count as nobody winning. That's quite unlikely. So Daniel has chosen Yoshi Valley. Yoshi Valley is one of Daniel's probably strongest tracks. I think he was the first person to hit what we call a god time at a Euro Meet One Try meeting. So if all goes well for them, it'll probably be a time around 1:44. Bit of a mistake early on from Daniel. Should be fine still getting through the spiny area. And that's given back a little lead to begin on lap 1. This jump here is probably the most contentious of the non-shortcut rules. So it's one of 2 kind of shortcuts which we class as being not being shortcuts, but being intended alternate routes. The other is the kind of obvious one going through the cave on Koopa Troopa Beach, where there's a ramp kind of pointing you to the cave. This hairpin jump, I don't know whether it's deliberate or not, or intended for people to do it or not. Daniel there hitting the spiny, spinning out. It's given quite a large lead now to Beck. Beck's safely over the hairpin on lap 2. Daniel safely over the hairpin on lap 2. But Beck's got a few seconds lead here. So it looks like Beck's going to end lap 2 around 1:10.5 to 1:12.5 to Daniel, so about a 2-second lead to Beck. Still going through the spiny path on lap 3, taking it a lot safer though. Slowing down, and there goes Daniel. I wonder if he's still going to finish it off. He should still finish it off, because you never know. If he's not watching the stream, Beck may well have fallen off as well. Beck hasn't fallen off, but very smooth. And probably going to be a 1:45 because of a safe lap 3. Just a 1:45.95. And Daniel is going to come home in something like a 1:56. 1:56.35. So that will be the first set to Beck. Because Beck won the first set, Daniel will have first pick of tracks in the second set. However, he can't pick any track that he picked already. The track pools will reset at the end of set 2, but during set 2 the players can't pick a track that they themselves picked during set 1. So we're going to be going to Banshee Boardwalk. Looks like Backstream is consistently just a tiny fraction ahead, so I'm just going to give it a quick dab of a pause to see if we can sync it up a little bit better. So this section here with the like little S's is one of the most difficult parts of this track. The next most difficult part is the inside of this bat's house here. We call it bat house because there are actually bats which fly around in it. You just won't really see them on the time trial lines. But if you're playing multiplayer and you get lightnings inside the bat house, if bat hits you, you will get squashed. So at the end of lap 1, we have Daniel with about a 0.2 second lead over Beck. Like Daniel leaving an MT out there, which seems to have brought them right back equal. Much better shroom there from Daniel. Beck bonking against the wall. Daniel... Okay. I can't always tell if Daniel misses an MT or not because there's no audio. And he doesn't have his speedometer up. So sometimes it looks like he doesn't get an MT. But it's about nearly 2 second lead now for Daniel then. So he was 0.2 up after lap 1, and that looked like something like a 1.7 advantage there on lap 2. Oh, but he's still taking it ultra risky. Better stream that time from Beck. Oh, Daniel clipping all of the walls. This seems to have brought Beck really right back in it. This is a very nervous last lap from... Oh, he can't even buy an MT on the finish straight. Wow. Oh, there's only 1 second there. I'm really bad at seeing how far behind people are. So Daniel takes the first track of set 2. With a very nervous last lap from Daniel. And we've got a choice of Luigi Raceway from back. This is a track where he's actually been going after the world record recently. So he's very well dialed into it. Okay. Just start them off. So Luigi Raceway 3-lap non-shortcuts had quite a lot of activity in the last week and a half. Started off with a player called Daniel Burbank, taking the world record down from a 1:57.98 to 1:57.92. In that time, Matthias has also tied 1:57.92, and Beck's taken his own PR down. Last time I saw it, he had a 1:57.97. So Beck should be very well practiced in on this track. Okay, so I expect him to use 1 shroom on lap 1. And then 2 shrooms on lap 2. And no shrooms. Oh, Daniel messed up his shroom, tried to recover it with a second shroom, and has basically lost about a second there. Yeah, this is being raced in PAL mode, so there will actually be an NTSC race later. Well, basically following this one almost. That'll be between Matthias, the world number 1, and Dan Burbank, the world number 2. They've agreed to play on NTSC. So for everybody over in America, that race will be running at the speed you're used to seeing this gameplay. Whereas this is being played at European PAL speed, or about 20% slower. Which does make time trialing easier. So, not really much to say on this track. There's very little that can go wrong for Beck here. It was all over in the lap 1 shroom spot when Dan shroomed into the wall. I think it's really just Beck versus the clock at the moment. So we should see a 1:58. Yeah, 1:58.66. To Daniel's 2:00.63. And that's going to tie us up at 1 track each in the second set. And Daniel's going to pick next. Let's see where he chooses to go. Daniel's chosen Koopa Troopa Beach. So the key thing on Koopa Troopa Beach is making sure you get into the cave. Very easy to miss the cave. Usually people, when they miss it to the left hand side by slightly overturning off the ramp. Both these players are well versed in one try, so I expect them to make it into the cave every try, but you never know. So one thing you'll see them doing is driving very close to some of these rocks. Some of them will give you a little boost if you almost drive inside them, but if you go too much inside them, then you'll snag, you'll get stuck, you'll lose all your speed. So both safely made the cave on lap 1. Beck with a 0.04 lead, almost identical times there. Both opting to go inside the palm tree. Approaching the tunnel. Daniel's a little wide but makes it in. Beck got caught up on the inside of the tunnel though, so he's lost some speed. Should give a slight advantage now to Daniel going into lap 3. Yep, Daniel just under half a second ahead. Just needs to keep it neat and tidy now. Beck needs to go ham really, try and make up that half second. Daniel starts that slide so wide but makes it in. Cleaner from Beck, oh, but with a bad exit. Gosh, wow. That was messy from both of them towards the end there. I was about to call Daniel as having easily won it, and then his shroom was not great. But it was just good enough with a 1:37.04 to Daniel, taking it by 0.17 of a second. So Daniel now takes a 2-1 lead in set 2, with Beck 1-0 up. And I apologise if you can hear my keyboard. I have quite a noisy mechanical keyboard, so when I'm typing the times in, you may hear the keystrokes. Okay, so Beck's going to take us to Calamari Desert. Calamari Desert is possibly one of Beck's strongest. In fact, I don't think there's any doubt. I think Calamari Desert is Beck's strongest track in terms of one try. He is absolutely fantastic at it. So certainly with Beck, I'm not sure with Daniel, you'll see them doing a hill hop approach, where they'll use the start boost to go off to the left, and then they kind of do a bunch of hops and MTs. Whereas Daniel was electing to use a shroom, which is the old traditional one. Unfortunately, he shroomed straight into the wall, which essentially lost him that shroom. So Beck is just ahead on the road and also has one more shroom than Daniel. And shrooms on this track are worth about a second. So that's a big advantage for Beck. So the biggest hazard on this track are the trains. They are, however, on cycles. So these players should know the train cycles well enough to be able to adjust their strats on shroom usage, so as to not actually hit the trains at all. I think for Beck, the first train on lap 3, if he's had a very good run, will possibly cause him to have to start slowing down a little bit. Though I'm sure he knows now how he was a good second ahead of Daniel, give or take because of the wasted shroom, that he may well just deliberately not drive quite at full pace at lap 2 or the start of lap 3, just to make that train ultra safe. But again, that was a very good lap 2 split from Beck. Yeah, so he's just going to hang around for that train to pass. So the players are neck and neck on a road. The difference is Beck has 2 shrooms, Daniel's used all of his shrooms just to get through the trains. So this should be about a 2-second win for Beck on this track. There's not really much which can go wrong from here to the finish. To be honest, even if Daniel drove his run near perfectly, it's very hard to challenge Beck on this track. So Beck with a 2:05.32. Daniel probably disappointed with a 2:08.33. But again, I don't think that was a track that Daniel would have been expecting to win at all. And the next track is going to be Sherbet Land. So we're all equal here now, 2-2 in the second set. Beck, however, being 1-0 in the lead. So the biggest danger on Sherbet Land is falling off the track or hitting a penguin. There are A lot of cracks in the ice which the players will be jumping over to take a tidal line, but if you try and jump too much and fall into the ice, you'll lose about 8 seconds. The other danger is inside the cave, where they're using their shrooms. There is a chance that the penguin could be in the way. Penguins are on cycles, so as long as you haven't made any mistakes, you should know where they are. Any mistakes and you can be unsure. Especially with the penguin, which gets in the way when you do the shroom, being kind of in the exit blind corner. So you'll see what I mean here. They both in the shroom, and on this lap, one goes inside, one goes outside the penguin. Lap 3 is where that penguin can be an issue if mistakes have been made. See how aggressive they are on the crack jumps. There's a half-second lead in lap 1. This crack jump coming up here is where you get ultra aggressive. That's the risky one where you'll see people falling in occasionally. That's not a place you usually see someone fall in the water. And that's going to be a big time loss because you have to wait for the ice to unfreeze. And that's a give up from Daniel. So all Beck has to do now is finish the track. As soon as the player pauses, it's a DNF for them. And all the other player has to do is finish. However, if the other player were to pause themselves, then you get a double DNF, which has happened. Like memeing it up, going around the outside where there's a hidden item box in multiplayer modes. Contrary to what some players will tell you, that is not a special item box, it's just a regular one. Yeah, I mean it's not exactly specially hidden, it's just one which people at high level very rarely ever go near because it's on a slower line. So you do get some people who don't even know it exists. So Beck now takes a 3-track-to-2 lead in the second set, and he also now has pick of tracks here, so let's see where he chooses to go. Are we going to see a Rainbow Road pick? Yes, we are. Beck's chosen Rainbow Road. That doesn't surprise me. It's a very long track, it's quite a boring track, but it's a track that Beck has quite an advantage on over Daniel. Just waiting for the second ready. So Rainbow Road's going to take just under 6 minutes. Probably 5 minutes 53, 54, something in that region. The main issue here is that players will want to avoid the chain chomps, or rather unchained chain chomps, because they're not dragging the chains. At the start here, they're going to slow down slightly, triple tap, and try and stick to the road. Contrary to what a lot of casual players think, it is not faster to jump at the start there. You're fastest when you're on the road, so there's a tactic called Tran style, named after a player called David Tran. You slow down just a tiny bit, then triple tap your accelerator, which gets you back up to full speed, and you stick to the road and you go flying down a hill at really high speed. Yeah, this is a non-shortcut competition, with the exception of each player can, on one of their picks, elect to allow shortcuts to be used on that track. As of yet, neither player has used that Joker pick, with Beck being the world #1 in shortcuts. I wouldn't be surprised to see him use a shortcut pick at some stage. Daniel also is very highly ranked in shortcuts, I don't remember his exact rank, it's like 6 or 7 or 8, something like that. So if he's been practicing a shortcut beforehand, you may well be able to pull that one out. Ooh, getting snagged a little bit on the rail there, Daniel. Just put him just a little behind. But it's still very close here. But we're still only on lap 1. Just another 4 minutes of this track left now, guys. I hope you like the music. So Beck has a 158.67, Daniel a 158.88. So a 0.2 second lead to Beck at the end of lap 1. Not really much more to say about this track. Yeah, drive around, avoid the chomps. Try not to miss too many MTs. Try to get a good trans style at the start of each lap. And we have another 3.5 minutes left. So while we have some downtime, I'd call on you guys to all give these two players a follow in Twitch. Just linked in chat the Twitch accounts for the two players. Also, if you want to give me a follow, completely up to you. I do stream occasionally. I've got my Twitch account linked in chat now. And if you'd like a little bit more information about this Mario Kart 64 One Try League or Mario Kart Time Trials in general, you can head over to the league website, the Discord. And if you want to get into Mario Kart 64 time trialing, I'd highly recommend you go visit MarioKart64.com. You look in the bottom right of the stream, you can see a little logo of the website. So it's Mario Kart, all one word, followed by the number 64.com. There's about 1,200 players registered, nearly, I think, 1,175 or so registered non-shortcut players, where we see Beck is ranked number 3 and Daniel, I believe, is ranked number 7. So as we come around to the end of lap 2, Daniel is now fallen quite a bit behind Beck. Beck sticks to the road quite nicely. Daniel actually gets a really nice tram, but he's a little bit too far behind now. He needs Beck to hit a chomp. If Beck can successfully avoid the chomps on lap 3, he will take this track. Okay. This is a rather safe rainbow road. As you can see, we have railings going around the entire track. Unlike some of the other rainbow roads, which don't have railings on different Mario Kart games, where staying on the track can quite often be the major challenge. In Mario Kart 64, that's not really an issue. I mean, it is still possible to clear the railings. Generally happens on sections where there's an elevation change, or if you get hit by a shell in one of the GP or versus modes, you can actually be thrown over the side. So we're coming up to the final danger section here for Beck. Just needs to go safely around the outside of that chomp. From now on, it's just a case of driving to the finish for him. If you look in the top right of the screen by the times, you can see that race data cannot be saved for Ghost. This track is so long that too many inputs are made for the N64 to actually be able to keep a record of what those inputs were. So in time trials, you can usually race against the Ghost of your best run. In Rainbow Road 3 lap, that just doesn't happen. So it's a 5:54.45 for Beck versus a 5:57.47 for Daniel. So that's going to give Beck this set here, 4 tracks to 2. Oh, I seem to have lost the ability to type numbers. And that was Rainbow Road. Okay, and they're jumping straight into the third set, and the track pool has now completely reset. Players are free to choose any track they like again, and Daniel's gone back to Mario Raceway. Yeah, you can get ghosts on Rainbow Road. Around about the 6-minute barrier is about the limit of where you'll get a ghost. That's usually where people are not emptying as much, so they're making less inputs onto the controller. So Daniel through nice and smoothly, Beck also through. It was on lap 2 last time where Beck got hung up against the wall on the mushroom cut. So coming through to finish lap 1, Daniel 29.63, Beck 29.57, so less than a tenth between them. Let's see how they make it on the mushroom cut this lap. Daniel through smooth, Beck through but not as smooth. Ooh, you don't see that piranha plant get hit very often. So Beck is now basically needing Daniel not to make the mushroom cut on this lap 3. And this has been very impressive Mario Raceway driving from Daniel on the first time they played this track, and again this time, and he's cleanly through. So that should be enough for Daniel to take the first track of the third set. Nice safe shroom. Yeah. Very good time. 128.63 to Daniel, to Beck's 129.92. So you'll probably see quite a few of the same tracks getting picked again. Players do have their favourite tracks. They have tracks where they think they're stronger or have better chance against the opposition. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Beck choose Calamari Desert and Rainbow Road in this set, or maybe Bowser Castle. Yep, straight to Calamari Desert. Just start the 2 players off. Yeah, the thing with that mushroom cut on Mario Raceway is you just have to pretend that the piranha plant that's guarding it isn't there. Because if you're in the air, you go through the piranha plant. You only hit it if you're on the ground. So as long as you're timing the hop, you'll just go straight through the piranha plant like it's not there. And the rest of the time it's just holding your nerve. So Daniel with the shroom start, and Beck with the hill hop start. So Daniel, although he's ahead on track, he's used 1 more shroom. Each shroom is worth about 1 second. Beck's used his shroom now, so all equal. Which is a much better go for Daniel this time round than last. Beck with an advantage at the end of lap 1 of about half a second. They're both going for hill hops on lap 2. Beck really is a master of that hill hop section. Oh, a little bit of sand there for Daniel. Beck leaving an MT out. Both holding on to the 2 shrooms. So they're doing the traditional 1-0-2 shroom stat of the top players. In a 1-try situation anyway. We're not going to see any attempts to go between train wheels here. It is possible, and in fact necessary at world record level, to actually drive between the wheels of the trains. There's essentially a cart width gap, but it's a moving gap, which is kind of crazy. As you can see, there's tiny little gaps between the carriages. But it's been fairly smooth for both players here. Beck still has a slight advantage, but it's going to be much, much closer than the first time these players raced this track. Little mistake on the finishing section for Daniel. So it looks like a 2:05.13 versus a 2:05.96. That's great times from both players there. I think Daniel was probably especially happy, even though he lost the track. Getting a sub 2:06 and a one try for him was pretty exceptional. So Daniel's chosen Choco Mountain. Still no shortcut picks yet. Both players holding on to their jokers. I don't know how much longer that'll be the case. I think for Beck, with tracks like Bowser Castle and Rainbow Road in his arsenal, doesn't necessarily need the joker pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see Daniel use it if he's practiced a shortcut. Ooh, Beck hung up on the wall there. Lose him a bit of time. But the problem for Daniel is that Beck is the world #1 in shortcut time trials, so he'll have to have heavily practiced a shortcut track to make him a favourite on it. Actually, what I would love to see is Daniel pick Rainbow Road shortcut and pick Wario as his player. The spiral's actually easier to do with Wario, and it's something that Daniel's quite well practiced in. And it's sufficiently fast enough that it will beat non-spiral times every time. So despite Beck's mistakes, this is tightened up quite a bit. He's just using his shroom, so he's probably looking at being about second in the lead. Bad hills though. That's brought Beck closer. By bad hills, I mean he was bumping into the hills rather than rolling over them. Incredibly difficult to get good hills consistently. But Daniel's still with a small advantage here. Getting hung up on the sidewall. Oh, they are now almost neck and neck. This could come down to the quality of the hills at the end. Daniel, good hills. Beck, good hills. Wow. Wow, Beck takes it by 0.03 of a second. Wow, Beck there about 0.3 faster on lap 3 to take it by 0.03 of a second. 1:57.65 to 1:57.68. That's a big track for Beck in this cup. He's essentially wrestled the pick away from Daniel there. So being 2 tracks to 1 up and now having next pick of tracks. Daniel is quite sad in chat at how that one finished, I think. But yes, that was a win for Beck by a frame. For anybody who's unsure of that reference, if you find the Royal Raceway 3-lap world record, which was the time which gave Beck the shortcut #1 overall. It's a fantastic video to watch. And we are going Royal Raceway shortcut. Back to the seam of the frame. So Beck with a 2-track to 1 lead, choosing to use his Joker now. This could well be his last pick, so I don't blame him for using it now. So this is shortcuts allowed. So what we're going to see is after they come around a right-hander where they cut over the grass, they'll then be going to the left, jumping across the river, aiming for a specific spot on the wall the other side. If they hit that, which Beck did, but Daniel missed it, he was the wrong side. So Daniel's going to get put back down where he was. Beck is going to get warped all the way to the top of the ramp. Daniel makes it on the backup, but that's quite a big loss already. There is a second shortcut you can do by going left. Here we see Daniel going left off the ramp. That second shortcut saves very little time whatsoever, maybe a second or something like that. I'm not entirely certain, I'm not really a shortcut player. The most important one is the first shortcut, so again if you watch back stream, come over the grass, he'll head to the left, he'll hop, land, hit the wall just to the right of the polygon seam. You'll see the word "poof" show on the screen. Daniel went to the left of the polygon seam, so that will not have triggered the shortcut. Goes for the backup again. It's a poof, so that means the shortcut will have triggered. But at this point now, Beck can pretty much do anything he wants. He could drive around non-short now and still win, I believe. But oh, he missed it. I think he was too low on the wall. Oh no, it triggered. Oh, I didn't know it could trigger without the word "poof" showing on screen. Again, like I say, I'm not a shortcut driver, so like it didn't say "poof" on Daniel's screen, but he got it as well. Okay, yeah, I know nothing. Ooh. Daniel's stream has frozen for me. Oh, I think it's just lagging quite a bit. That's a 2:19.33, which will take Beck to match point. This is a 2:23.70. Oh, where's the shortcut? There we go. So Beck now has 3 match points. So what happened there, Beck was actually trying to do a special finish line warp shortcut at the end of lap 3 because he knew he had enough of an advantage, but he didn't get it, but he still won. So hopefully the streams will still be fairly synced up after those kind of dropped frames we had on Daniel's side towards the end of that one. We have one more track to go, at least. So Daniel's chosen Koopa Troopa Beach, and he needs to win this one to keep the match alive. Let me just pull up their streams just in case I need to do some resyncage. Okay, that should be fairly good. Okay, so again, Koopa Troopa Beach. The most important thing is to make it into the cave on all 3 laps. We don't class going through the cave as being a shortcut, it's classed as being alternate intended route. Basically because they put a big ramp pointing at the cave. So both players into the cave, Daniel a little bit smoother through it. So at the end of lap 1, Daniel has about a 0.3 second lead. Looked like he left out an MT on the finish line straight. One of the hardest things with driving in Mario Kart 64 is whenever you have uneven ground, you can get inputs getting eaten. It's quite difficult. And Beck did not make it into the cave. He's going for a backup. Didn't make backup. Gets in third attempt. So all Daniel needs to do now on lap 3 is make the cave to win the track. All eyes on the right hand screen. This will decide who wins this track here. Daniel wins Koopa Troopa Beach. And that will take it to 3 track to 2 lead for Beck. And 2 sets to 0 lead for Beck. So Beck's still on match point, but that is 1 match point that Daniel has saved. 136.47. Beck reversing over the line with a 146.39. But we move on to Beck's choice. I'm hoping he's going to choose Bowser Castle rather than Rainbow Road. Oh, he's gone Luigi Raceway. Okay, that's even nicer. Nice short track. I suppose. I know this is definitely going to be Beck's last pick of a track. Okay, so they're both ready. So Daniel needs to win Luigi Raceway and then win his own pick to keep this game alive. If Beck wins Luigi Raceway, he'll win the match. No, the backup isn't considered shortcut because you're essentially just using an alternate method to go through an intended route. It's kind of a bit weird. I mean, if you think about it in the logic of how we define shortcuts, then because you're not using a ramp and you're kind of hopping over a wall, maybe, but we just allow it. So we should see, hopefully Daniel can get a better shroom on lap 1 than he did in the last time they played Luigi Raceway. You have to shroom as close to the wall as you can. Both of them going for the mystery boost. Mystery boost is at the end of the one shroomer. If you kind of flick the back of your cart into the wall, you'll get stuck at slightly faster speed going over the off-road section than if you don't do that. It's worth like a tenth or so of a second. This is a much more competitive Luigi Raceway than what we saw the first time these two players played it. I think Daniel's stream started a little bit before Beck's, so although he looks like he's ahead on the road, I think it's pretty much neck and neck. 1/100th of a second separating their lap 2 times, 38.50 to 38.51. Okay, Daniel looking like he's having a nice first corner. Doing their MTs facing opposite directions before the tunnel. They've used all their shrooms, so they have to drive around a long way on this final lap. Just trying to avoid hitting the sand. Daniel gets a little bit of sand. I think this is going to be match to back. 158.37 to 158.90. And with that, Beck will take the match. 3 sets to 0. For saying it was a 3 sets to 0 match, it was a lot closer than what that scoreline might suggest. Daniel taking quite a few tracks off of Beck. But congratulations to Beck. Go follow him on Twitch at abney317. Congratulations to Daniel on a good showing. Go follow him at Twitch on _Prupus. The links to both of the players' Twitch accounts are in chat. That's not going to be the end of it for the Mario Kart 64 One Try League though. There is an upcoming match. Gosh, it's going to be starting pretty shortly. I'm not sure the exact time. But there's going to be a match over on the main Speed Gaming, no, on this Speed Gaming channel I believe, Speed Gaming 2, between Matthias and Dan Burbank. Okay, it's just in about an hour at 4:30 PM Eastern Time. Dan Burbank and Matthias will be playing a One Try League match. That's the world's number 1 and 2, going hammer and fist at each other, and they'll be playing on NTSC. So it'll look even faster than what we've just seen here. So congratulations to Beck, congratulations to Daniel. Give both of them a follow if you want a little bit more information about what this Mario Kart 64 League is all about. There's some links in chat. Go look at the One Try League website, join the Mario Kart 64 Discord. You'll find we're all really nice people, and if you want to get into playing this game, we'll give you plenty of advice. Also head over to MarioKart64.com, which is home to the Mario Kart 64 time trial rankings. There's also a forum there, and there's also rankings for all the other Mario Karts. You can find all the links on that website. But that's it from me. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and see you again sometime.